Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me? And where is the place of my rest? For all those things hath mine hand made, and all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word. I read to you from the book of Isaiah, chapter 66, verses 1 and 2. And may the Lord add a blessing to the reading and hearing of his word. Most Holy Father, we come to you this morning with thankful hearts, just thanking you for forgiving us of our sins. Thanking you because you're a good God that can do anything but fail. Thanking you for your mercy. Thanking you that you're so gracious and that you give us chance and chance again to get things right. We just want to thank you because we love you. We ask that as we go through your word, you'll open all hearts and minds. Give us an understanding. Keep us on the straight and narrow. Help us to pay attention so that we can do better. Bless those that are here today and those that are on their way. Bless those that are in the sick rooms, in jail, in the hospitals, home, can't get out, sick and shut in. Just touch in a mighty way. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And at this time, we will call Deacon Michael up to share the word with us.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope everyone enjoys this very crisp day.
Thank you, Lord.
There's a very crisp one this morning. Fall is upon us. Or excuse me, autumn is upon us. Now, today's lesson is from the book of Numbers, chapter 12, verses 1 through 16, and it's entitled. Make sure you recognize how this is. It's titled "Miriam and Aaron Oppose Moses."
Okay.
That's very significant.
Key.
That's very significant. The order in which it was announced. It's very significant in this case. Let us go around the room, and we have quite a few scriptures. Let's go around the room and see if we can get see if we can get all these things done in a timely manner. And so I'm going to start out by asking Deacon Ridgway, would you mind reading the first two, Numbers 12, 1 and 2, please?
Miriam?
Mm-hmm.
And Miriam and Aaron
Spake.
against Moses of
Ethiopian.
Ethiopia, women whom he had married, I think.
Yeah.
For her,
For he had.
married, oh, he had married
An Ethiopian woman. And they said, verse 2, and they said, hath the Lord
Heard.
the Lord heard it. All right, thank you. I'm going to ask Chrissy. Can you read verse number 3, and Sister Brenda, can you take 4 and 5, please?
That's it. Now the man.
You want me to read 4 and 5?
Please.
Okay. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and to Aaron and unto Miriam, come out of you three unto the tabernacle on the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth.
Okay. Sister Gay, can you read for us 6 and 7, please?
And he said, hear now thy words, if there be a prophet, if I can get it out, prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all my house.
All right, thank you. Michelle, can you do 8, 9, and 10, please?
With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. In the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle. And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous.
All right. Delana, 11 and 12, please.
And Aaron said unto Moses, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he comes out of his mother's womb.
All right. Elder Brenda, would you mind 13 and 14, please? And Deacon Prince, will you finish up at 15 and 16?
Okay. 13, 14. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, O Lord, I beseech thee. And the Lord said unto Moses, if her father hath but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Yet she be shut down from the camp 7 days. and after that, let her be received in again.
Thank you.
And Miriam was set out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people moved from Heather and pitched in the wilderness of Paran.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Man,
This was a very interesting lesson. It was a lesson in a couple of things. A lesson in rebellion, a lesson in also questioning God, which is rebellion if you ask me. But rebellion against the authority that he had placed. He had placed Moses in this particular, I guess you could say, this particular office, this particular duty. He was the spokesperson. So it was a little bit of that, and it was also a lot of envy, a lot of jealousy, And I just want to read a little bit. This came from the introduction of the expositor, and it says it hit it right on. One of the greatest enemies facing the church is jealousy. Even we, the children of God, can be guilty of allowing the success or promotion of others to blind us to what God actually wants from us. If God has not given us the job or position we want, it is because he has something else for us at this time.
amen.
It is especially dangerous when jealousy causes us to speak against someone whom God has anointed for special service. So that's another thing we got to think about. Okay, if someone has a certain job that they have been anointed to do, and just because they don't do it the way you want it done, means nothing. If he's placed in that spot by God, God is the only one that takes it on. Think about one other thing. When we think about this thing about disputing what God, who's in place, think about Saul and David. How many times has David had a chance to kill Saul, but he would not? Because he said, I will not touch the Lord's anointed. Think about that. Whenever we have a dispute, just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind.
Amen.
All right. Our lesson is broken up into two sections. First section, verses 1 through 9, is entitled Aaron and Miriam Speak Against Moses. Now, again, I said in the beginning, think about what it said. Think about the way it was written in the scripture. The second section was Moses intercedes for Miriam, and that's verses 10 through 16. Okay, so let us start out verse 1 and 2. Oops. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. All right, I'm going to stop right there for half a second. Now, the only one, notice it's called an Ethiopian woman. She is not named. So you sit there and think, wait a minute, didn't he marry somebody who wasn't from Ethiopia? Midian? Okay, the Jethro, or Jethro's daughter. So you sit there and wonder, you said, okay, is this a second wife? But see, this is something we are not sure of. There's so many different things. I was trying to figure this out too. I said, that was Zipporah. And then I was thinking, wait a minute, her name didn't come up. And her name came up previous. And so I was wondering, is this something that, this is another woman? Or what, maybe it was two women that were, two women that he had married, two women, just like David had. How many wives David had? And we know Solomon, he really went off the chain on when it concerns wives. But that is not really told to us. We don't really know. But that's what I was thinking. I'm like, this is what I was thinking. I don't know. I can't speak on it. Is there something wrong? Oh, okay. I can't really speak on it because I don't know, and the scripture does not really clearly give us that information. Okay. Verse 2. And they said, now this is Miriam and Aaron, and they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Okay. Verse 2. I want to take a small detour. Hold your place there, obviously, if you got your Bibles open. And I want you to go to Genesis, the 3rd chapter. I'm only going to read one verse. Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? But doesn't that tone sound somewhat familiar? Doesn't that tone sound a lot like, hath he not spoken also by us? Questioning God right off the bat.
Right.
And then right afterwards, and the Lord heard it. So you sit there and you think, and say, okay, this is part of the insurrection. This is something that God is not going to be too pleased with. Now, when I saw those two things, I had to read it 2 or 3 times when I saw that. Hath he not spoken also by us? And I'm thinking, that sounds in a tone somewhat similar to Genesis 3:1 to me. So I had to read it. So I had to go back and read it again. So I said, yeah, it sounds a lot like that to me. Verse 3. Now the man Moses was very meek, above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. Now it's interesting that that was put in there at that moment, at that time. It was put there. Then it says, and think about it. The Pentateuch, the first 5 books, were what? Written by Moses. Now why would he put himself in there like that? Because God said, this was God breathed. This was God told him what to put in here. So you don't question God, okay?
Right.
Now, think about it. Meek. Anybody got a definition for meek?
Humble.
Humble? Anyone else?
Mild mannered.
Mild-mannered? Okay. Well, I like this thinking, so I said, I want to get something, quote, from a dictionary, because those are the things that I was thinking about, especially humble. Merriam-Webster's definition is, one of the definitions was enduring injury with patience and without resentment. And when I thought that last part, without resentment, I was thinking of Jesus. Jesus was the meekest man ever. And he held nothing against them. He held nothing against the people who crucified. He had nothing against them. When he said, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Okay? Now, synonyms for meek: modest, lowly, and here's another one that I saw in Merriam-Webster: unpretentious. Can you imagine somebody? They are in that particular office. He is God's appointed leader of the Israelites. And you know, when you become president or something like that, as in what happened recently, your head kind of gets big. You know, you think, I am the president, I can do whatever I want to do. I am the leader of this, I can say, I can do this. You know what? Too much eye problems. But a meek person, unpretentious, nothing, none of that. None of that has none of that. Verse 4 and 5, I'll put those together. Now this is and the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and unto Aaron and unto Miriam. So he spoke to them. He spoke to them. So the first part was right. It was right what Miriam said. Well, it was right in the first verse. When the second verse, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? No. Hath he not spoken also by us? Okay. So, the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and Aaron and Miriam, come out ye three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came out. And the first thing I was thinking about my own parents. Uh-oh, somebody's going to get it. Somebody's going to get it. And, unfortunately, this was not, they just witnessed a couple of Aaron's sons were killed.
Right.
They were just recently killed because of their sin. And you think this rebellion is going to be tolerated? It's going to be just glossed over? No. He's going to stamp this out right quick. All right. God set the record straight, and I'm supposed to read this one highlight that I read on page 91 in the expositor. And I think I kind of said it earlier. And it was written in here, it is still a dangerous thing to speak against those whom God has divinely chosen for a specific work. It is like saying that God did not know what he was doing when he chose that person. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I know that ain't good. That is not a good, what was that one thing I heard? Not a good career move. Also, we must be content to serve in whatever capacity that the Lord has given us and equipped us to work. Think about it. If he did, I'll say like this. He's gifted certain people to do certain things. He's gifted some people. He's gifted Sister Prince secretarial stuff. I'm like saying, you know what? I don't want to see it. I can type. All right, I can type pretty good, but I just don't have all the ins and outs of a mindset in that manner. I can do other things to help the secretary, or I can do other things to help the leader. I can help, but I am not the lead in that. I would not want to be the lead in that. All right, I'll just do the things that I am capable of doing. I'm not going to go tell Sister Prince what to do. I'm not going to tell Deacon Prince what to do. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. It is not my job. I am not to do that. I will help them if they ask, and whatever they want, if I can do it, I will do it. But I will not. I believe that they are divinely placed in those positions, and I am not about to step in. Okay. I'm going to read 6 through 8. Okay, we're speaking of God now. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision. In a vision. And will speak unto him in a dream. Okay, so now you know how he's going to talk to the prophets. In a vision and a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Now we're going to repeat that last part again in a few minutes. Now, I wrote in here, notice how God speaks to Moses as opposed to how he speaks to the prophets.
Right.
Okay? Hold your place here. Let's go to Deuteronomy, 5th chapter. Just right down the street. And we're looking at verse 4 and 5. I'm going to start at verse 1. but 4 and 5 is what I wanted to touch on. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb, or Mount Sinai. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us who are all of his here alive this day. The Lord talked with you face to face in the mount of the midst of the fire. I stood between the Lord and you at that time to show you the word of the Lord, for ye were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mount. Yeah, we can continue on, but I just want to say that like that. He stood between the people and God. He was between the people and God. He was more or less mediator. Okay? So when you think about that, he said, okay, notice, the people were afraid. But he expressed in here no fear, because him and God spoke to him face to face, as if you were talking to one of your friends. Okay, so when you have that kind of relationship with God, you ain't got nothing to fear. You got nothing to fear. Now, I want to continue on 8, the last part of 8. Wherefore, then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Okay, now notice all of this was saying from 1 through 8. And also number 9, but that's next. 1 through 8. Moses didn't say a thing. Moses hadn't said a thing. He wasn't there. And well, he was there, but he didn't say a thing. He was there. He was silent because those two had to come forward.
That's right.
Those two had to come forward. It's one of those things. I think I'll step back a little bit.
Right.
Fortunately, he was not like that all the way. I don't know. I to be honest, I don't know if I can be that meek. I pray that I can get to be that way. But it said, if you look at this, it said, God questioned Miriam and Aaron as to why they were not afraid to speak against the man of God. Okay, questioning God's appointed leaders is the same as criticizing. I just read that earlier. It's criticizing God's decision. All right. Now, when you look at that, verse 8, were you not afraid? He didn't ask. Did he wait for an answer? He didn't wait for an answer. He waited not for an answer. Then he said in number 9, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. He gave them the accusation, and he gave them no chances to mount any kind of defense, because there was no defense to this. None whatsoever. Because the Lord does not lie. And they knew. They said, oh, we messed up big time. Alright? So, though defense was allowed by God and his anger was kindled, and he departed. Now, I don't know about, I remember some things when I was growing up, in which my father or my mother were upset with me. They were so upset with me, they were so angry with me because of something I had either done or said, that they just, my mother would do it occasionally, just get up and just get out of the room, because if I didn't, I might not be breathing today. Because they put the hammer down on me. So there was no defense. God just left. God just left, just departed. Now it's a frightening thing for him to say something and just depart, because he was that angry. The anger of the Lord was kindled that greatly that they rebelled against Moses. Now, does anybody have any questions before I say anything else about this section? Sis?
Yes, when I read, the first thing came to me was that first practical point that they had on the first part.
Yeah.
When we feel the need to rebuke someone, we should consider our feelings are sinful or justified according to God's word. And that stuck with me so much, because in downtime when you go to the church, a lot of people do not know how to rebuke
Yeah.
Before you can have information, but it might be the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you get ready to rebuke someone or do anything, you need to go back to God.
That's
Mhm.
true.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, because you can say or do things that may hurt, may injure even worse than what
Yes.
the first thing was. I've been guilty of that myself, so I take that. I agree with that 150%. Anybody else? Sis?
Yeah, I wanted to say, Miriam, we learned that she's a prophetess,
Mm-hmm.
and Aaron being the high priest. Here you see where the authority comes in.
Uh-huh.
And they felt like they had enough authority to go after their brother.
Mm-hmm.
They were questioning his authority.
Yeah.
And in that you see a lot, because you see Aaron being big brother. Remember when Moses didn't want to go when God called him to go to Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
because he couldn't talk, so he said,
Mm-hmm.
he said, I'll send Aaron with you. So now you got the reverse, where you have the younger brother in control.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't like that. So they found an excuse to go after him.
Yeah, they use the excuse of the
Egypt-
Ethiopian woman. I wanna say
Ethiopian
the
woman.
Ethiopian woman.
And you saw pure jealousy.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
people will become jealous and come after you. They don't appreciate what you might be offering.
Mm-hmm.
So then they start finding things wrong with it. You know, just can't get it right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, when I saw that too, I did see that because I'm thinking, said, what's the deal with it? Wasn't it? Then that's why I had to read it a second time and said, wait a minute. I was thinking, why didn't they object to it before they left? Because he was already married to this Zipporah. But I said, that's when I'm thinking. So I said, okay, they're upset. They're getting upset now. So I'm thinking now again. This is me personally thinking. I don't have any scriptural evidence to absolutely say this is true. This is what happened. I'm thinking. I said, okay, maybe this is another woman. Maybe this is another woman. So, but anyway, yeah, they used the Ethiopian woman
To bring something else out.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that I just couldn't understand. Who went up to the mountain and who went up to the mountain all the time? Who did God call on the mountain? He didn't call all three of them. He called God. He called Moses. He called nobody else. The only one that wanted to escort him up the mountain was Joshua.
Joshua.
That's the only one. And you don't see him in here saying anything. He's got his mouth closed. He's got his mouth closed. So, anyone else have anything to say? You want to add?
I just find the Ethiopian woman means something. That is a key. I mean, I believe what Sister Prince said. They was looking for something.
Yeah.
But there was something about the Ethiopian woman, too, that they disagree with. I was studying and I tried to get on that, but couldn't find anything. But that just stuck with me. I'm thinking she's black and
Well, yeah.
like a foreigner, you know,
All of that.
infiltrating their brother and their culture and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
And
but you got to remember too, there's already been a mixed multitude. It was
A
a mixed multitude.
multitude.
A mixed multitude. Now you're going to pull out one person for this mixed
Right.
multitude?
yeah,
Now, my thought, no, you're correct. But I'm like this thinking. I said, I thought when I finally thought it might be a second woman, I'm thinking, said, could this be a little racism? That's what I was thinking. Then I started to go try to get some helps. So I went to some commentaries, and a couple of commentaries did mention possible racism. But again, those commentaries also said that we don't know if it's the same woman that he married, Zipporah, or somebody else. So I'm like this. I'm putting all of this out there. If anybody comes up with any evidence that to definitely give us this, it'll be just wonderful. But I don't know. again, I know what I think. But what I think does not mean anything when it concerns him.
Right.
Right.
And that's why the bottom line is we need to go back to God before we do our actions.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
We got a tendency to do it on our own.
Anyway, I thought someone else had a hand up.
No, but actually, even as far as this Ethiopian woman, we need to focus on the situation because that's what brought the problem.
Yeah. The situation was, that was just an excuse.
Yes.
That was,
just an excuse.
you asked me, that was a lame excuse to try to get back at, to try to get at Moses.
Yeah.
All right, second part, the final part is called Moses intercedes for Miriam. Now, this is kind of a shock, I would imagine, to their system. Verse 10. Now, God just departed. Well, I'm going to read 9. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Now, you sit there, and that must have been a serious shock. A serious shock. All of a sudden, the cloud lifts, and what happened? Oh my goodness. And so, you sit there and you think, and said, oh no, we are being punished here. Well, at least you are being punished here. But I was party to that insurrection also. That's probably what that could possibly be what he was thinking. I was party to that too, because God called both of them out. He didn't call her out by herself. He called both of them out. Okay, as soon as Miriam's punishment was to be stricken with leprosy, and this was going to be a visual display of God's displeasure with what happened. There would be no doubt about it. She wasn't like that this morning. All of a sudden, you look at her and she's white as snow. And with this, she was to be banished from the camp. Okay, this is my last cross-reference. Let's go back up just a little bit back to Numbers, the 5th chapter. And this is why she was banished. I'm going to start at verse 1. Numbers 5:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they put out of the camp every leper and everyone that hath an issue, whosoever is defiled by the dead. Both male and female shall ye put out without the camp, or outside the camp. That's what I mean when they say without the camp. Outside the camp shall ye put them, that they defile not their camps, in the midst whereof I dwell. So that's the reason why she was banished from the camp. But fortunately for her, it won't be permanent. 11 and 12. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly. Admission of guilt, we have done foolishly. And wherein we have sinned. Again, confirmation, foolish sin. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. Okay, now, I'm not 100% sure of the wording of verse 12. But verse 11 was obvious. It was obvious to me. Aaron acknowledges their sin and asks Moses to intercede on their behalf, because to God for mercy, because of this insurrection that they were plotting. By Aaron doing this in the manner in which he did it, he acknowledges that Moses is God's appointed leader. Think about it. He said, he went to Moses. He's basically begging for someone to intercede to God for him, for both of them. And so by doing that, what did he say? He said, we wherein we have done foolishly and wherein we have sinned. So he acknowledges their sin. And what is it? He's faithful and just to forgive us our sins. I mean, come on. I mean, that's a perfect picture right then and there. Okay, 13 and 14. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. And the Lord said unto Moses, If her father had but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. Okay. Miriam had personally sinned against God by her rebellion, but God is merciful, even when he corrects us.
Right.
Especially when he corrects us. Because just like it was said earlier, just like I said earlier, just like the Bible said earlier, when Abihu and I can't think of was it Abihu and Nadab? They burned strange fire before the Lord, and they were what? They were immediately killed. Immediately killed. Okay, so God could have done that, but He was merciful. He was merciful. Moses pleaded for Miriam's healing, and God separated her for 7 days. Now, when you think about it, 1 week's punishment. I've done a month punishment. But it wasn't like this. My month punishment was I couldn't go outside for a whole month. Well, it wasn't so bad, especially when it was winter time, so I really didn't care that much. But if it happened in the summertime, I would have been crying. But anyway, number 15 and 16, take those two together. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not. And the people journeyed not. And the people journeyed not till Miriam was brought in again. And afterwards the people removed from Hazareth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. Now, I want to read this thing out of the expositor, which I thought was perfect. At the end of this time of waiting, of 1 week, she was received back among her people, fully restored, yet with an indelible reminder of the power of God and the evil of jealousy. During those 7 days, while Miriam remained outside, the people did not move on. They waited for her. They waited for her. They remained until she could rejoin them. And it's interesting that God let her be received back, even despite the sin that was in the sin of jealousy, and I guess you could say like the jealousy and insurrection, basically, plotting an insurrection. Why did that word insurrection keep coming up?
Right.
Debate.
Right. Good word.
So when you think about all this, God was extremely merciful and kind to her, even though her sin was a grievous crime. Anyone have anything they want to add to this entire section, or into today's lesson in any way, shape, or form?
I wanted to add the scripture, Matthew 7th chapter.
Okay.
1 through 5. It said, Judge not, that ye be not judged. But with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but consider not the beam that's in thy own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, Let me pull out the mote of thy eye, and behold a beam that's in thy own? Thou hypocrite, first cast the beam out of thy own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast the mote out of thy brother's eye. I thought that really relates to our lesson. Because for some reason, when we look at other people, we can see their faults, but we don't see our own. And a lot of times, God is telling you something. When you read the scripture, it ain't for others. It's first for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the conclusion I got.
Well, what you read about that, notice what you read about that. Jesus was saying this to someone not to judge others. Okay, now who was the earthly injured party in our lesson? Was Moses. Okay? Now, two things. Moses didn't say anything. He never said a word. And there was another thing that I had put down. One of my notes that said, I said, perhaps he may not even known of their murmurings. Because it said in here, the Lord heard it. It didn't say that Moses heard it. It said the Lord heard it. And the other part is, God will defend his own.
That's right.
God will defend his own. Now, in this case right here that you read, totally true. But the only thing that I have to say is, Moses didn't bring this up.
No.
God did. God did. God said, hey, I want to see you three right here. Immediately.
Well,
He didn't
Moses
get
was set up like the church. And
well,
this is what he said to the church today. Like, they was critical of Moses. They
Yeah.
went after Moses. That's God's own.
right,
The
exactly.
church today is God's own. And he's
Right.
saying that if you're going against that person, then that's what that's represented. That's God.
Mhm.
But when you do it against brother or sister, then you're doing it against God. And when you do that, and when you criticize someone else,
Okay,
and
well,
because you don't know how God uses them.
again, like I said before, that is one-on-one. And today's lesson was God was the one that instituted instituted this punishment, and He's the one that stepped in. Moses said nothing. The only thing that Moses said was Moses Moses cried out, "Oh God, I beseech thee, heal her now."
Heal her now.
Okay, so
Moses was too meek to say anything. See, that was his brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So he was just, going, they're listening, and when God spoke, that's when he pleaded for their
another thing to consider: what happened a couple chapters, chapter or so earlier, when Aaron's sons were killed, and what did God say? Don't mourn. Don't mourn.
That's right.
That's the judgment. Don't mourn. So.
So who said Matthew 7?
Jesus said this.
That's
But what I'm
right.
saying is,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is this.
Okay.
What I'm saying is this, and I said that Jesus said that. What I'm saying is this. Moses did not bring this accusation up. All this was instituted all this was done by God.
That's right.
Moses may not have even known. It doesn't say that he knew. It doesn't say that he doesn't know.
Right. See, but this day, our people that's getting talked about, they come up and say, well, wait a minute now, you disrespected me. I want my proper. You know what I mean? See, give me my proper.
Okay.
And that's when we have to learn to be quiet.
That's right.
We can't.
Plan.
If you kill my dog, I'm going to kill your cat.
Right.
And God said, vengeance is mine. And that's what we have a hard time learning.
Yeah.
We
Because
can't.
it doesn't
can't
happen
shut
the way we want it to happen all the time. I know we have two people here. I have Delana.
Okay, yep, and I just want to add to the story today because even though I read it over and over again, it's still all about me. Every time I pick up and I open up the Bible and I see things, I'm questioning myself and the things I say, the things that I do. And it just caught my eye on, how, because I find myself doing it. Saying certain things and questioning God now that I know that I be doing it. I'm just questioning God. I'm really not. And it could be envy, jealousy, all of that probably plays a part, but I really like how in the end, for me, it caught my eye how you have to go and ask for forgiveness. With that desperation that Aaron had after he seen such power that God had. Okay? So that like scared me out of my wits. Okay, this lady here turned to a white woman, like, you know, kind of like she coming out of her mama's womb, and just instantly, all because you questioning what God do. You jealous of what God done bless your brother with or your sister with, in other words. And when it says about Moses' prayer and God's answer, it says, after Aaron turned to Moses in desperation and repentance, Moses immediately went to God with the same sense of desperation as Aaron. So you have to have that desperation and that faith. You just can't go, like you said, I understand that now, but just, oh God, forgive me, like I be doing most of the time. You got to go with that desperation and that sincerity.
Sincerity is key. Sincerity.
Yeah. So that's what I got out of that lesson, and most definitely I keep my mouth closed when I see other things going on. You know what I'm saying? Because what they got ain't for me. What I'm going through is what God intended for me to go through and stop questioning. And that's what I got out of this thing.
Yes, Lord.
Okay.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, because the lesson shows us how to take slander and turn it over to Jesus.
That's it.
How to take our criticism, even when we criticize,
Yep.
it's not just one way.
Yeah.
Say
It's
it.
both ways.
Say it.
Because a lot of times we criticize people on the down low.
Yes.
All right.
But God will show it
Yep.
publicly
Yes,
just
he
by
will.
how the person acts.
Yeah.
So it's very critical
That's
that
right.
we follow what Moses did.
Right.
Not just because that was his brother and sister, because that was the right thing to do, no matter who came at us,
That's right.
no matter how.
Right.
But I was wondering about why it was the 7 days. I don't know, I picked certain things out of the scripture that just make me curious, you know, why it wasn't 10 days, why it wasn't just 1 day.
Because it didn't stop there.
Yeah, you
Because
know.
that sin didn't stop there when you read on.
Because
She
it
endured
continued.
some more punishment.
But I think, well, this is just an idea, was it to show the other Israelites
Yeah.
how not to mess with leadership?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I believe that's exactly what it was. Sister, you ready to come up? I believe that's exactly what it was that what was he saying? Touch not my anointed.
Yes, that came to me.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that you did. That's one of the things that the Israelites needed to learn. And the thing about it, like I said earlier, that it was a visual display, a visual reminder that you don't go against God's leadership. God, it was obvious that God appointed Moses to be the spokesperson, to be quote the intercessor at that point. Okay, the true intercessor hadn't come yet.
Sister Brenda just gave me an answer to my 7 days that she was saying 7 is completion.
Yeah.
And so
That sin is over.
That's true.
sin is over.
And also,
Thank you, sister.
you know, 7 days. 7 days was set aside for ceremonial cleansing. They had that, and it is, I think, one of the scriptures that came out in our lesson. Ceremonial cleansing, 7 days. You know, I thank God for how He works. I was listening to Sister Delaney.
Yes, indeed.
And I said, I want you all to start participating in the lesson.
Wow.
You don't know how good it makes people feel
Yes.
when they stand here before God doing His work. And we can motivate people
Each other.
to get involved
Yes.
and to share. Because if you're up here teaching and nobody out there says anything, it's like you're teaching to a dead class. You wonder, where are they? Are they here? And I had said I was going to call somebody to come up and sum up the lesson. And I don't know if the lady thought she was gonna be that one, but she summed it up.
Yes, she did.
And all the time I was saying, thank you, Jesus.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Jesus. She summed it up.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we, all of us in here,
He sure
can
did.
do it.
Amen.
First of all, we have to come to Sunday school with a mind to learn.
Yeah, that's key.
And then when you get here, pay attention. Pay attention. And then, after you already study, you come here, you hear the teacher, then you should be able to say, hey, this is what I got.
That's right.
This lesson was beautiful. And as it was brought out, there is so much jealousy in the church. We hear it all the time. You can't do anything right. One person telling you this way, somebody else telling you another. If you say something to somebody, you didn't say it right. You hurt their feelings. You know, we're grown people. We're adults. Grow up. Get some tough skin on you. Be polite, but be true. And if somebody comes to you and is telling you the right thing, accept it. If it's not right, then you can go and talk about it. But if you can own up that what they're saying to you is right, then work on it. We too touchy.
Yeah.
She didn't speak to me. So what? Maybe it's a day you come in and you don't speak to anybody.
Yeah.
That's no big deal.
Yeah.
We gotta stop. That's the only way we can move forward. That's the only way. And all of these lessons, if we learn from them, it will help us. It will help us. God stepped forward quickly. And he called all three of them. But when he got them in the tabernacle and he showed himself in that cloud, he addressed Miriam and Aaron. And Moses knew he better not say nothing. See, we have to know when to keep our mouths shut. And a lot of us don't. Always the gums flapping. Under your breath, over your breath, just going.
Yep.
It's a time for everything. But God explained everything. He said, I talk to my prophets. I come to them in visions and dreams. But Moses, even though he was a prophet, I have a special relationship with him, face to face. We need to stop questioning. If somebody puts you up here to do something, you're not doing it up to them. You're doing it to God.
That's right. Right.
Who you serving?
See, who are you serving?
Yeah.
We look at man too much. Please, God, I keep trying to tell y'all, you cannot please man.
Don't try God.
You can't, because his gums is flat all the time. You ever tried to listen when you're talking? It's hard.
Hard to do.
And that's why we miss so much. This is our star student this week. But I don't want you to give up, because next week, Lord willing, it'll be somebody else. Study.
Amen.
And when you call me next time, I'm going to ask the Lord to make me get that.
Okay.
I'm talking with Sister Gay now.
Okay.
First time she ever called me,
Huh?
want to study the lesson.
That's
See
all
how
right.
God works. See how it works.
Yeah, he will.
Call me. Because you may be next week, you never know. Want you to study. And with that,
Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for the beautiful lesson that you bestowed on us this morning, Lord. Continue to touch our hearts, Lord, and our minds so we can understand the word, Lord. Do your will, Lord. Just thank you for the teaching, Lord. Thank you for just being so good. We ask all these blessings in your son Jesus' name. Amen.